one thing I wanted to ask, because it makes sense that we want to have vessels that are more and more efficient. We also want to, so that includes the engine type and all that kind of things. But the number of vessels, I guess global trade is always growing.
Yes.
That would be my assumption.
Yes.
So you keep adding new ships, and that would add to the emissions, unless of course you do or you build green vessels.
Yes.
But how is that like? How do you see that? How is that factored into the targets and yeah?
So our friends that do all the research around the emissions, of course, take into account the order book.
Yeah.
So the order book are the ships that we have that are being delivered into the world fleet. And actually, it's unprecedented that the order book has so many ships that are able to run on dual fuel.
Yeah.
We also have a record number of LNG ships entering the fleet, ammonia vessel entering the fleet. And we're seeing really a boom in the order book with alternative fuel-ready ships entering the fleet. And when we look at the trajectory of the world fleet in 10 years, 15 years time, of course the emissions of those ships are taken into account. But the big caveat is that we are assuming that the ships that are ready to run on alternative fuel or on dual fuel are going to be able to have supply of those fuels. And this is a big assumption, because today we do not have enough fuel and alternative fuels such as e-ammonia and
e-methanol.
Exactly, methanol that are coming from sustainable sources ready for that fleet.
No.
And we do have some insights around those bunker supplies thanks to ZeroNorth's bunker, and the numbers are worrying. We are not seeing an uptake in the production of those fuels because demand simply hasn't been there. And when you say that a ship is dual fuel ready, it doesn't mean that it's going to run on an alternative fuel.
No.
So how can you create incentive for the bunker suppliers?
So it sounds like unless you fix the bunker supply part of things, a dual engine fuel, a dual dual fuel engine isn't actually doing anything good because the ship is ready for it, the vessel is ready for it, but she can't sail on it.
It's always a chicken and egg problem in shipping, because of course the bunker suppliers are waiting for the shipping companies. So in light of that, we have the Fuel EU regulation, which is going to kick in, if you've heard about it. So the Fuel EU is actually my personal most optimistic, it's the regulation I'm personally the most optimistic about, because it's the first regulation that is actually hitting the nail on the coffin, because we are talking about reducing the emission intensity and the fuel mix profile of ships directly at the source. It is not putting like EU ETS a cost on polluting. It is not measuring the emission intensity or putting a rating like the CII. No, it's asking directly shipping companies to reduce the emission intensity of their vessels and their fleet year on year. So how do you do that? Optimizing and energy saving devices are not covered by Fuel EU. You have to really show that you are reducing the emission intensity of the vessels. How do you do that? By changing the fuel mix. So this is really going to motivate both the bunker supply chain and shipping companies to come together and to see eye for eye in terms of changing the way that bunkering happens in shipping.